When it comes to buying stock options, if you want to get the very best results you can from a return on investment basis, then you're definitely going to want to learn exactly which stock option to buy. And there are a few things you may or you may not be aware of when it comes to choosing an option. For example, a lot of people buy the at the money option. This is the worst option you can buy because it's the most expensive because it's made up of all time value. Other people think it's a smart move to buy short-term out-of-the-money options because they're very cheap, and then they hope that the stock will go up and they can make a bunch of money. Well, if you're buying short-term out-of-the-money options, you're probably going to be out of the money because these are very low percentage trades. So when it comes to knowing which option to buy, there are two main things that you want to focus on. So the first thing that you have to look at is choosing a strike price. Now when you go to look for a strike price, you're going to notice that there are a ton of different strike prices available, and next to them will be a premium or the price that's associated to each strike price. Now you want to pay close attention to this because the price of the option is really going to be a big factor in your success or failure with choosing the right option. So when you look at a strike price and the premium that's associated with it, an options premium is made up of two things: time value and intrinsic value. At the money options and out of the money options are made up of all time value. Now, time value is the portion of the options premium that can hurt you or where you can lose money. Because every day, some of that time value ticks off the option. Every day, the option is closer to expiration, so some of that time value is gone. So if you buy an option and you pay $5 per share of time value, then at expiration, the stock is going to have gone up at least $5 a share just for you to break even, because you paid $5 at expiration. That $5 worth of time is gone. So if the stock didn't go up $5, you'll have a loss. Now, in the money options have time value and also intrinsic value. Intrinsic value is like a down payment on the stock. It's real value. All else remaining the same, just time passing off the option. You don't lose any intrinsic value. So at expiration, if everything remains the same except for all the time has ticked off the option, if you had $4 per share of intrinsic value, at expiration you will still have $4 of intrinsic value. So it doesn't hurt you in the same way that time value does. So when you go to buy an option, you want to buy in the money, because you want to have intrinsic value and some time value. So what I recommend people do is they start looking 2 to 3 strike prices in the money, because that's going to kind of be the sweet spot where there's enough intrinsic value that you're not paying too much for time value, but there's not too much intrinsic value that the option is just too expensive and you can't afford it, or you can't afford enough shares to really take advantage of a big move. Now, one thing to note about intrinsic value: the deeper in the money you go, the more of the options premium is intrinsic value and the less time value. And eventually, if you go deep enough in the money, the option will be made up of all intrinsic value. So when you're going to select a strike price, you want to make sure that you do not pay more for time value than you do intrinsic value. So you want to buy more intrinsic value than you do time value. That's usually 2 to 3 strike prices in the money. The next thing that you want to look for when you're buying an option is how much time do you buy? That's one question that everybody has, and the short answer is you want to buy as much time as possible. But buying time is kind of a double-edged sword, because obviously the more time you have for the stock to make its move, the better, but the more time you buy, the more expensive the option gets. So when you're buying time value, what you really need to know is that in the last month, especially the last 2 weeks, the time decay on that option begins to accelerate, and more time value starts ticking off the option. The option loses most of its value in the last month. So when you're buying an option, you want to buy enough time for the stock to make its move, but you want to be able to sell before the last 2 months. Because if you own an option, when the time decay begins to accelerate, it's going to be really hard to make any money, because if there's 50 cents per share ticking off of time value per day, the stock is going to have to go up 50 cents a day just to compensate for the loss in time value. That's going to make it really hard to turn a profit on that option. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to buy enough time for the stock to make its move, and then to be able to get out before the last month. So if you think a stock is going to take 2 months to make a move, you're going to want to buy 3 or 4 months to make sure that you're out before that last month before expiration. So these are the 2 most important things to look for when buying an option. I look at 6 different factors when I'm buying an option. We didn't have time to cover all 6 in this video, but I put together a 6-point option buying checklist. It highlights the 6 steps that I go through when I'm going to buy an option to make sure that I'm buying the best option and an option with the best chance of making money. If you like this checklist, just click on the link right up here and enter your details, and I will email you my 6-point option buying checklist. Also, if this is your first time here, I'd love to have you subscribe to my YouTube channel. I do videos just like this every week so you can become a better and more profitable stock trader. So grab my 6-point option buying checklist, subscribe, and I will see you next time.